Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining today, everybody. So, for today's Tuesday whiskey discussion, I got a question from one of our favorite whiskey friends, OH, who asked for a progress report on 2023 whiskey goals. So earlier this year, did a video on 3 whiskey goals I had for 2023. And OH had one that he was particularly interested in, which was one of the goals was to be more selective. Now, I worded that very carefully because really how I wanted to word it was spend less money on bourbon and whiskey, but I didn't trust myself enough to word it that way. So I worded it as be more selective. So how am I doing on that? We are, 3, 4 months into the year. What is the progress on these goals? And just for record here, if these topics for these Tuesday discussions, they come from the comments that we get in YouTube, Instagram, Patreon. So, hey, bring some inspiration here. Ask a question. Cover it in a next upcoming Tuesday. So let's kick off the show and let's get through this topic. Thank you for joining me, everybody. All right. And per usual on these Tuesday videos, I do like to drink something. Here, I just actually popped this one open. So I'll do a review on this one later. This is the Bardstown Rye, but I haven't sniffed it yet. I haven't even tasted it yet. I'm doing that live with you here. Now, as a quick recap, my 2023 whiskey goals were the following. I'll just go through them here. Number one was to do more in-person events. Number two was to drink more scotch and world whiskeys in general. And number three was to be more selective. Now, I'll really focus in on be more selective here momentarily, because that's really where OH's question was diving into. But real quick, just to go over the first two, God, I'm failing. I'm failing bad. I mean, I still got 8 months to go, so lots of time to make it up. In-person events, goose egg, complete fail there. I've had local parties here, but as far as meeting people out in the community too much this year, geez, I've not done too much here. So I am excited though. Come May, come August, got a lot of things planned. Then in October, so there are things planned. We just haven't gotten far enough into the calendar year for those whiskey events to occur. But I am excited to see everyone in the community face to face again, just like last year. Pours at the Park Whiskey Weekend last year. Gosh, that's so much fun. So big goose egg on that one. The next one, drink more scotch and world whiskeys and create more content about scotch and world whiskeys. So I have bought a few interesting world whiskeys over the course of the year, and one interesting scotch. A couple Japanese single barrels, a couple Irish picks or unique releases. But man, I really haven't dabbled really too much in the scotch, and I haven't really created any scotch content. I want to do that, but I haven't done it. The one thing that really does hold me back from that is my innate sense when I sit down with a scotch, I'm still learning. I don't have a enough experience, I feel like, with other whiskey categories to sit down and confidently grade them. I don't know what the upper bounds of a scotch are. Maybe I haven't had that many high shelf, amazing scotches in the same way that I feel like I've really explored the bourbon category and ryes too. Very, very in depth. I just don't have that with scotch. So when we switched to the review format, it kind of impaired me a little bit from diving into that deeper because it's just not where I am on my journey. So I'm still trying to think of a different angle then, coming from the perspective of, well, I want to learn about Scotch. Probably other people want to learn about Scotch too. How do I take them on the journey with me, man? Maybe that's just its own series that I can figure out and has nothing to do with reviews. Um, so I'm trying to think about how that would work and where I could lend any unique perspective to that when it comes to my own journey of trying to explore world whiskeys. But ultimately, that has resulted in me not exploring a whole lot of Scotch as planned. Additionally, on top of that, I did divert a little bit too when it came to 2023 and got obsessed with all the bourbons that were $20, $15, $30. I've been re-exploring all those. That's how I've been spending most of my time. So it just hasn't left the time I expected to dive deeper into Scotch, but hopefully I can get there still. Once again, 8 months. So then let's go to that third resolution, and that was to be more selective. As I said on the top of this video, I did strategically word that goal because I didn't believe myself to spend less on bourbon or whiskey, though maybe I have. It's really hard to say when it comes to like what you spend in April and May and March and like these early months, because silly season's still a few months away where things go nuts. But I worded it to be more selective. Don't feel like I need everything. Don't feel like I need to buy all 3 bottles that a private club released. Like, just pick 1 or just pick 2. Try to pick punches the best I can. Don't feel like I'm playing Pokemon and I have to get everything. Now, I think I've done a good job of that in areas and a not so good job of that in other areas. So, what OH followed up with then is, hey, you had that goal of being more selective. What's your criteria been so far in enacting that plan and being more selective? So, I jotted down a few notes here. We'll start first. I mentioned the whiskey clubs. I have been more and more and more critical about getting to know who picked that barrel, how they picked it, their motivations behind picking it, all those types of things. It seems like I had a whole lot of fun getting single barrels from all these private groups, especially for brands that I haven't heard yet. Things like Driftless Glen, Rebel, and Ezra picks. Those type of things that were been releasing the last 2 years. It was really fun when people will be like, "Hey, I got a private barrel of this thing that you haven't even tried this version of it yet. Come try mine." And you'd go and you check it out and see what that thing had to offer. But I found myself more and more not buying store picks. I think the quality sometimes of store picks versus the group picks has lacked. And even then, I'm in so many different groups, local groups, national groups, all over the place in the groups. I've kind of started shrinking the window of which ones I trust and which ones I buy from. So getting more selective in those terms. The other thing that's weighing in, even if I know who's picking the barrel, is, do I have an open bottle or a backup bottle of that same brand already? And if I do, and there's 3/4 of it left, like, even if I enjoyed it, I'm clearly not going back to it. So why have another one that's just going to take up space? Now, I might be missing out on something really special when that happens, but there's got to be a reason why I'm not being attracted to it on a regular enough basis to make progress on that bottle, especially if I've had it in the collection for 1 to 2 years. So just no point in buying another one. Maybe I've learned what I can from that brand, and regardless of the pick, I'm just like, let other people go explore that. I got to explore the first one. The other thing that weighs in on me is, if I do hear early buzz about something being good, not being good, I'm a little more cautious. It's kind of a try to get a sample if I'm hearing negativity versus like be like, oh, I'm just going to buy it and see what I think on my own. Get more selective that way. And past experiences are weighing in on me more and more. I mean, if you're a brand that releases something that's $150 and it disappoints me, I'm not even going to consider you on the next release right now anymore. Like, if you put such a high price tag on something that doesn't bat at that level, there is no more second chances. There's too many alternatives. The only way I will give you a second chance is if enough people convince me that something is special. But my guess is if I waited for that point for enough people to convince me, I'm probably missing out on that release anyway, right? Like that's how it works. It's kind of the early bird gets the worm on these releases sometimes. But that's where I'm at this year. Like there's a bunch of brands. I won't get into what they are here, but there's a bunch of brands last year that really disappointed me, really gave me a negative feeling in my heart because I was spending, if you spend anywhere upwards of 100 and over 100 on a bourbon, it has to deliver. And if it doesn't deliver, it's overpriced. They know what they had. Maybe they had to price it that way for economics reasons and to get the profits they needed. Sure. But man, all you're doing is degrading your own brand when that happens. And there's too many alternatives now. I'm just done with you. You got to keep impressing me. You got to keep earning those high prices. And any slippage of that does pump the brakes on me. And then the next category will simply be, I mean, A, how many funds I have, but how limited of a release it is and how unique it is. Maybe that causes me to pick something or to pass on something. Recent examples of that would be, a whole bunch of Four Gates dropped, and I went all in on the Kelvin 5. I even bought 2 of them. But they released a whole bunch of other batches, and I was like, I just love Kelvin 5. I'd rather have 2 Kelvin 5s than one of each, of all 3 that dropped. I'll wait for other people to tell me how the other ones are, but it's just too much money for something that, I just wanted the Kelvin 5. Give me the known quantity brand type of a thing when that happens. So I have been more selective that way. So in the same way I don't get every single barrel that picks in every single one of my private groups, I'm doing the same thing even amongst brands that I love, trying to just pick my punches a little bit better. Now, one thing that you can always see on this channel is pretty much how much I spend on bourbon. Just look at all the reviews. You can see that I'm doing 2 to 3 reviews every single week. That, of course, costs money, and you can track my purchasing there. Now, luckily, so far this year, I've been dabbling in those $20, $30 bourbons, so I can buy a whole lot, and get a whole bunch of reviews for $100 when I'm doing that versus, when I spend $150 on one bottle, you get 1 review out of it. Even the one that I haven't taken a sip out of here, this one ran $65. That's not too bad. Tastes a little differently than I thought. I'm going to have to explore that a bit more. Ooh, that's actually got a pretty good finish on it for a 96 proof. I think that answers OH's questions. It's just trying to be better about picking my punches, trying not to play this game as if it's Pokemon, trying to beat down feelings of FOMO. And in doing so, that enables being more selective. Whether that equates to spending less than last year, I'm not quite sure, but hopefully it does. And that'll be a topic for a future video when it comes to the spending of bourbon. But I'm an open book, everybody. Just look at what I'm reviewing. I'm buying it to review it sometimes too. That doesn't really sound like a very good selective criteria, but it happens sometimes. But fun, new things are fun to explore. Well, thank you for joining me today on Tuesday's whiskey discussion. Let me know in the comments if you had whiskey goals, how your progress on those whiskey goals is going as we get into the spring season closer to summer. And if you haven't made any progress left, still 8 months left to make more progress. So keep some momentum going here. Well, thank you for joining me today, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, whiskey friends.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say